Hi there everybody, and welcome back yet again to the Joe Nord's Toy Room, here with another vintage Masters of the Universe toy review. This time, the Evil Horde's Robot of 1,000 Bodies, Multibot. I was extremely happy to be able to get this sample of Multibot from my very good friend, the Plastic Junkie. Sold me this Multibot for a very, very good price. And he is pristine. There's only two slight, very, very slight flaws on it, and I'll point them out later. But other than that, he is immaculate. Looking at this side and this side, very, very nice. So, I won't lie to you guys, this is not my first attempt at shooting this video. My first attempt, I had in mind to have him displayed, all spread out, all of his pieces. And then I was going to build him on camera to what you have here. But that really wasn't working out. It proved to be a lot more difficult than I anticipated it. I can't describe why. It just seemed really, nothing I was doing satisfied me. So I decided just to start like this. This is basically, for those who aren't familiar with this toy, I'll give you a brief description of him and what his feature is, but you'll see it for yourself with your own eyes, as I'm gonna fiddle around with them, take them apart, and put them together in different ways. So that was the gimmick, guys, for those who aren't familiar, is that basically his limbs, heads, legs, this caterpillar torso, all snapped, unsnapped, and then could re-snap, be reassembled together with a nice little snap system. These little pieces here, for those who aren't familiar, these are just little neck joints or little two-pronged joints to help you in building different I almost said Moduloc, different Multibot robots. So anyway, but as differently than Moduloc, with his main model here, the neck joints are not utilized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set them off to the side, get them out of the way. Alright, so now you've got the robots themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'll just set that off to the side. I'll deal with the accessories later. So you've got that. Alright, now Multibot. Let's see here. I'll give you a view of him from this side. The vac metallization does not carry through to his back, but there's some really nice detail going on. I hope the light is hitting it right so you can really see that. Mattel's sculptors, they had some of their ace sculptors working on this figure, I would guess for sure. Now, what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to take them apart a little bit, and I'm going to give you guys some little demonstrations. For those who aren't familiar with this thing, I'll just, and for those who are familiar, just humor me a little bit, and I'll fiddle around with them so you could just unassemble them like so. It all just real satisfying snaps too. Yeah, so it was all basically like this. It was a nice little plug system. So you've got the kind of like the nub with a lip around it, or with an indentation around this part, and on the inside you've got the hole with a lip around it. So it would really snap in there nice and snug, as you can hear. So what I'm going to do is put them together in another formation. The robots that I'm going to build now are the robots that were on the back of his card art. They were really, really nice. They're in the back of his card art, by the way, guys, for those who aren't familiar. You really should look it up. If you have never seen it before, I recommend going to heman.org and looking up Multibot in their database, and just go to Explore Packaging and take a look at. He came in a really nice closed box packaging, as opposed to the standard carded figures. So I really recommend you taking a look at that, and it also has a picture of the front of the box and also a picture of the back of the box, which included the back card art, which was really, really nice. And in it he was fighting, I believe he was fighting two of the Snake Men. He was fighting Ratlor, Tongue Lashor, and Too Bad. And he was also chasing another unknown evil warrior into a cave. I always like to think of it as Stinkor for some reason. I can really see Stinkor being like the sly, sneaky one that hides in a cave. Anyway, enough of that rambling. So let's get on to the figure here. And I'll show you guys what I like to, or how I like to construct him. This is all pretty much going to be a whole mess of pieces here until I get it finished. But at the same time, it'll really demonstrate what this figure was all about. And yeah, so I prefer these arms with this torso. Alright. And then we reverse these legs. Yeah, the joints are really, really tight. A lot of them have that, yeah, that real satisfying snap sound. Yeah. And there you go. So there's that half as I like him. Really, really cool. Oh, again, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Earlier I did mention that it does have some flaws, this sample. I'll go ahead and show you those now. So the very few flaws that this figure has are on this head. There we go. So on the crest here, there's a slight scratching here where you could see a little bit of the black showing through, but that's about it. And on the bottom here, on the bottom of this vac metallized torso, I don't even think it's going to show up. It's so slight that you can hardly tell, but in person you can tell that there is some slight chipping here. I think you can see it, right where my thumb is pointing to, right on the bottom of the waist, right on the bottom of the torso, that is. So anyway, yeah, that's about it for the flaws. Other than that, the pieces are really, really nice. They're very shiny, very glossy looking, very, very fresh out of the factory looking. So anyway, there's this half like I like him. Another thing I wanted to point out about this head is that you'll notice that this head, as opposed to the other head, this one is more like a cyborg look. It kind of gives the impression that at one point Multibot, or parts of Multibot, or at least this part of Multibot, was in fact a living creature at one point. And, you know, and things happened and he became a cyborg of sorts. But I guess I like referring to him as a robot more too, because he's pretty much all robot except for that. So anyway, there you go. So there's that version, or that model. And then with the remaining pieces, another little robot you can assemble is this little guy, who is also in that fantastic card back art that I mentioned earlier. Some of the snaps are a little tighter than others. I will admit, the snaps on the arms, some of them are not quite, you don't get that satisfying click. Okay, now you do sometimes. Anyway, yeah, I can't complain. So for the price that the Plastic Junkie sold me this at, it is a steal. He sold it to me for a very, very good price, and it's almost, it is very, very near mint. So anyway, there you go, guys. There's the way that I like to configure my multibot as two different robots. And then if you want him to rejoin with his partner, you can just plug him back in. Anyway, there you go. So now, like as I mentioned before, unfortunately, I do not own the mini comic that this guy came with, unfortunately. That mini comic was called The Menace of Multibot. So that was pretty much it. And another interesting thing about the mini comic and about his Filmation appearances, his few Filmation appearances, he did appear in the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, yes, he did. And he also appeared, I believe, in a few episodes of She-Ra. And he looked nothing like this. Nothing at all like this. Completely different. And also, as coincidentally, in the included mini comic that came with this guy, the artist drew him in a completely different way that didn't resemble this figure, and it did not resemble the Filmation model either. So that's another odd little interesting thing about Multibot, I suppose. Anyway, so as for accessories, as accessories go, that is another way that this guy really shines. Mattel was getting really fancy by this time, and he included two really nicely sculpted laser rifles. Really nice. I will admit, I do prefer this half a little more, but they're both equally really cool looking. And as some of you may not agree with my opinion here, but I always thought for those who aren't familiar, the Moduloc, another figure that Mattel released the year before this guy, he also had the same build-apart gimmick. And he also had the same gimmick laser blaster. But unfortunately, I feel with Moduloc's blaster, they only looked good in the combined mode, which you can see here. So that was the gimmick here, is that you could combine them. So the real nice draw I find with Multibot is these laser blasters look good combined or separated. Whereas Moduloc's laser blasters, I think they only really look good combined. Especially the front half, it really did not look good separate. Anyway, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Multibot. So let's give each of them a blaster. So what's really odd with this one, with this half, you'll notice he did not really have hands. So what you did was you just kind of plugged it into this hole at the very end of his gripper claws. And that was pretty much it. You know, not the most realistic way of holding a weapon, I realize, but you know, it's Masters of the Universe vintage, so I think all of us are really sometimes guilty of cutting this line a little more slack than it deserves sometimes, maybe. I don't know. Nah, I think it deserves it. What can I say, eh? Like, this is a really magical line. Magical is a word that I use to describe my feelings for this line really often. I don't know if I've mentioned that before in previous reviews, but anyway, there you go. That's pretty much it. Multibot fully armed with his two really nicely sculpted laser blasters. So, hope you all enjoyed this little review, guys. I hope it came out all right, and it was a little struggle to keep my thoughts on track, but I think she turned out okay. So, until next time, guys, hope you all enjoyed this little look at Multibot, the evil robot of 1,000 bodies. So until next time, guys, I'll talk to you all in the very, very near future. Bye for now.